appreciation for the cordial relationship that exists between the African continent and the World Bank. The World Bank, specifically IDA's mandate, is very relevant to the African continent as it supports the development activities that pave the way towards poverty eradication, raising the structure and quality of growth, job creation, higher incomes, and better living conditions. We do believe that there are so many other avenues and diverse development needs that Africa requires. We wish to assure the World Bank of our continued commitment to this partnership and cooperation, because working together, we are going to develop sustainable solutions. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we convene today with the aim of committing to IDA donors and even other partners for the critical priority areas for development financing in Africa. And in particular, we want to show how significant the higher funding requirements are going to be very, very important for the IDA 21 cycle in supporting Africa's development and even challenges that, challenges and opportunities that emerge for the Africa today. In IDA 21 refreshment discussions held by ministers of finance yesterday, for which I was privileged to chair yesterday, the following themes were discussed and even summarized. First, it was investing in a livable planet in response to climate change. Second, we looked at the equal access to more and better jobs. Third, we looked at and discussed accelerating the recovery of human capital by fostering healthy, skilled, knowledgeable, and even inclusive societies. And fourth, we discussed how supporting African economies, and indeed what we require all IDA-supported developing economies, will be important to affect to those countries that are affected by fragility, conflict, and violence, because they do not achieve their potential. Fifth, we looked at prosperity and sustainable development requirements for the African continent. Sixth, we looked at digitization and connectivity, and so more so in terms of accessible services. And finally, we looked at universal access, energy access. The above issues are the ones that are summarized by the communique from the Ministers of Finance that was developed yesterday. We do believe that the summary of the communique will provide some efforts in terms of collective efforts, in terms of mutual dialogue, strong partnership, effective and even joint coordination for realization of Africa's economic and even development agenda. That actually was very heavily appealed by the team. These are the issues that will be summarized by the communique that will be shared in a closed session by the ministers. But more importantly, they reflect some of the needs that shows that IDA will work, and it will work with those commitments, and we therefore believe that it's going to work. Finally, these are just few remarks, but also I have the honor and the singular honor to invite the President of the World Bank, Mr. Anjay Banga, to address this gathering on the issues at hand, and more so on the IDA 21 replenishment. Thank you very much.
And as he's approaching, just to recognize also the presence of His Excellency Andre Rajoelina, President of the Republic of Madagascar.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. President Ruto, distinguished heads of state, your excellencies, guests, and all my colleagues. I think it's a great privilege for the World Bank to be here at this IDA summit, so graciously hosted by the President of Kenya. But I want to start with recognizing that right now Kenya is suffering in one portion of its country some devastating floods, and I extend my deepest condolences to all those affected and you know the World Bank will be there with you throughout this period, sir. This is the tragedy and the challenges of climate change. 4 years of drought followed by floods. And this is one of the reasons why, as the Cabinet Secretary spoke, the livable planet is such an important part of our future. These moments are devastating for families and for communities. They pull countries backward. They darken our hopes. But the horizon of Kenya, the horizon of the continent, I am firmly convinced remains very bright. We are here, united by a shared vision for the future of Africa, a continent that is rich in diversity, in culture, in potential. It is very easy to feel hopeful when we are together anywhere in Africa. You feel the sun on your face, the wind at your back, the fertile and mineral-rich earth under your feet, and most importantly, you feel the infectious energy of young people. But these are the ingredients that can power the future. They are not new blessings, and over the course of history, this abundance has too often brought profiteering rather than prosperity. Today, we are focused on a brighter future for every country on the continent and the people who call it home. The International Development Association has been a steadfast partner in Africa's development journey. This summit symbolizes our objective commitment to accelerating progress. But we have to move with urgency, we have to move with purpose, and we have to have a focus on results and on impact. This will require more from IDA, it will require more from all parts of the World Bank Group, it will require more from governments, and it will require more from the private sector. We stand at the cusp of a new era of growth and prosperity for Africa, or we have come together merely to admire its potential. The choice of where to go with that is ours. IDA remains dedicated to supporting your efforts, to investing in the people of Africa. We are working to make IDA more efficient. We are working to make it able to deliver faster by cutting burdensome rules, requirements, and redundancies. We believe a simpler and reimagined IDA can be deployed with more focus to make meaningful impact to advance the fundamental needs, energy access, healthcare availability, realize the agricultural potential of this continent, and build out critical infrastructure and skills in its people. We see boundless opportunities to advance your development goals, but we're going to have to work for it, and that should guide our discussion as we go forward today. Let's harness our collective energy, point it towards making impacts that will resonate for generations to come. Once again, let me extend my deepest gratitude to President Ruto for hosting in this beautiful country, and to each of you for traveling to be with us today. I look forward to interacting with you as the day goes along. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. And before I move on to the next part, just to recognize also the presence of His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana. We also have the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, His Excellency Abiy Ahmed, who's joined us as well, and Prime Minister Cote d'Ivoire, His Excellency Robert Bogre Mambe. At this point in time, Your Excellencies, allow me to now invite my co-MC, the wonderful and gorgeous Yvonne Dege, who will guide us. Why don't you put a warm welcome as we welcome her to guide us for the next part. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Michael. Welcome again to the IDA for Africa Heads of State Summit, hosted here in the beautiful city of Nairobi, Kenya. As Michael said, I'm Yvonne Dege, and I'm looking forward to guiding you all through a very exciting session by the heads of state. We are very happy to welcome you at this event, which is dedicated to IDA, the International Development Association, which is a partnership between donor and recipient nations. IDA is the World Bank Group's fund that works with countries to achieve sustainable growth so that they can chart their own future. A special welcome to our audience joining us globally via World Bank Live, across Africa via CNBC, and locally through Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, KBC. We also have simultaneous interpretation in Swahili, French, Arabic, and Portuguese. Channel information can be found on signs in the room or at the bottom of your screen on World Bank Live. Wherever you are, please join the conversation online using the hashtag IdaWorks. At this moment, it gives me great pleasure and an honor to invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, to the podium. You're welcome, Your Excellency, for opening remarks.
Your Excellency, President Mohamed Gozani, Chairman of the Africa Union Assembly, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency, my friend, Ajay Banga, the President of the World Bank Group, Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Kenya. On behalf of the people and the government of Kenya, I welcome you all to Nairobi for the IDA for Heads of State Summit. It is an honor for Kenya to host this IDA replenishment conference at this historic venue, the place where African heads of state recently united with a bold vision. Here, we committed to transforming our continent into a thriving middle-income region, leveraging our unique potential to drive global solutions. Today, we build on that legacy by actualizing our potential to provide those solutions through necessary financing. I extend my deepest gratitude to each of you for joining us at this pivotal summit. Your presence not only honors us, but also reaffirms our shared commitment to the International Development Association, our cornerstone for achieving the development goals of our continent and beyond our continent. We convene at a critical juncture, facing a convergence of global crises. This includes escalating geopolitical tensions that challenge international unity, a deepening development and debt crisis that threatens our economic stability, and urgent climate emergencies that demand immediate and collective action for our planet's survival. Today, we gather here. Kenya and the broader East Africa region faces severe flooding that devastated communities, destroyed infrastructure, and disrupted our economies. Concurrently, Southern Africa confronts intensifying drought, affecting nations like Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Just last year, the roles were reversed, highlighting our shared vulnerability to extreme weather patterns. As I speak to you in this podium, 10,000 people in Nairobi city are displaced by floods. That is the gravity of the situation. Only a year ago, we had a devastating drought on the other end. This new normal demands our immediate and united action to safeguard our collective future. This underscores the critical role of IDA for Africa Summit. As a cornerstone of financing for Africa, IDA has directed 75% of its total commitments, nearly $26 billion, to our continent in the last fiscal year, with African nations comprising 8 of IDA's top 10 borrowers. This support is not just financial. It is a lifeline for our development and also our stability. And your presence, personal presence,
my friend Ajay Banga in this meeting is a demonstration of the centrality of the discussions that will happen in this meeting and your personal commitment to this continent, which we appreciate. IDA stands out for its rapid and decisive action during crisis, distinguishing itself from other funding sources. Its demand-driven programs, combined with concessional loans of 40 to 50 years, empower borrowing nations to pursue sustainable long-term development strategies. And this is what we have been asking for. Long-term, concessionary. We now want to discuss in this meeting scale. That is the only aspect that is missing in this configuration. And as Ajay Banka said, two things are missing: scale and design. Make it simpler. Now, more than ever, long-term concessional financing is vital. As many Africans and other developing nations face severe debt crisis, this financial strain hampers our efforts to combat climate change, transition to low-carbon economy, and adequately fund essential sectors like education, health, and social protection. We have frequently discussed the financial challenges that restrict our economic capabilities and reduce our investment in resilience and growth. High interest rates lead to unsustainable sovereign debt, complicate refinancing, and destabilize our currencies. Additionally, the rising cost of living, increased commodity prices, and supply chain disruptions severely impacting our food security, healthcare systems, and overall preparedness for response to crisis. Last year, we brought to global attention that African nations pay interest rates up to 5 times higher than typical World Bank IBRD rates. This year, the situation has worsened. Developing countries are now net contributors to the global economy, contrary to expectations of receiving net inflows. Projections, for example, for 2024 show a net outflow of US dollars 74 billion from IDA countries like Kenya and others to donor nations, while net financial transfers to developing countries have plummeted from US dollars 225 billion in 2024 to now a low of US dollars 51 billion in 2022. Those statistics are glaring by any measure. Given these conditions, sustainable growth remains elusive for African nations as we allocate more funds to debt service than to crucial sectors like education, health, and social protection. This financial strain was prevalent in 2/3 of African countries even before the pandemic struck. Notably, in 2020, 1 in every 4 sub-Saharan African countries dedicated over 17% of its public revenues solely to interest payments. The IMF reports that sub-Saharan Africa's ratio of interest payments to revenue has more than doubled in a decade, reaching nearly 4 times that of advanced economies by the end of 2022. As a result, over half of IDA recipients today face debt distress or are at a high risk of debt distress. IDA remains their most dependable source of patient capital, with every dollar of donor financing enabling an additional US dollars 3.5 in capital market leverage to amplify development impact. This endeavor transcends financial returns. It is about fulfilling our collective global aspirations. Africa's commitment to economic transformation, reducing poverty and inequality, and enhancing human well-being is essential and demands significant capital investment. Moreover, the global goal of achieving net zero by 2050 cannot be realized without Africa's active participation, a failure which would jeopardize humanity's survival, not just African survival, humanity's survival. It is imperative to understand with substantial investment in our vast energy resources, Africa can not only provide power to all its citizens, including the 600 million currently without access, but also significantly advance global decarbonization efforts. Let me say this broadly. If there was a case to be made for a win-win outcome, IDA is the best example. Because everybody wins. The donors win, the recipients win. The donors win because it is an investment for them. For the recipients, it is an opportunity. In both cases, we have winners. The donors will put money in renewable energy, in energy in general, and we can continue world manufacturing and industrialization using African mineral resources, using energy that we have in abundance, and using labor that we have in abundance, and we can share the outcome of that industrialization with the rest of the world. By investing in IDA, we unlock 60% of the world's arable and cultivated land for food security and nutrition, not just for Africa, but for the globe. By investing in IDA, we unlock the human resource potential in our continent, Africa being the youngest continent in the world. Investing in education, in health, in social protection gives us the opportunity to provide 40% of the world's workforce by 2050. Investing in IDA gives us the opportunity to decarbonize global economy and provide for green growth. Let me say this. Our continent possesses 60% of the world's prime solar resources, and our untapped renewable energy potential exceeds 50 times the projected global electricity demand by 2040. However, realizing this requires a shift in investment strategies with affordable long-term capital at scale being central. Our proposal and request entail a vision for Africa, an Africa-driven socio-economic development executed with transparency and inclusiveness, and our case is straightforward. Let me put it this way. Significant capital injection into IDA is crucial. The G20 independent expert group recommends tripling IDA's financing capacity to US $279 billion by 2030, while maintaining the essential concessional nature of its financing. At the very least, and if we cannot do anything else, let us not ignore or wish away this expert advice. We seek not just funding, but a partnership for progress. African nations propose a robust plan for climate-positive growth, aligning with the Nairobi Declaration from last year's Africa Climate Summit to ensure stable, dignified, and sustainable livelihoods across our continent. Africa is poised to transform its agriculture, water security, and energy access while creating job opportunities for over 4 million youths entering the job market monthly and expanding our small and medium enterprises as well. Central to these opportunities is our commitment to African-led initiatives. we aim to control our destiny, managing our resources responsibly and sustainably to drive Africa's industrialization agenda using our abundant energy, mineral, and human capital resources. Our commitment to transparency and accountability is in our socio-economic development plans, ensuring the efficient and effective use of IDA is central to our plan. We acknowledge the vital role of diverse stakeholders beyond governments and traditional donors committing to deeper and broader engagement to enrich our development outcomes. We are committed to empower the Africa Union Commission to make it fit for purpose with capacity to engage the rest of the world on behalf of Africa. We are committed to reform the Pan-African Parliament to enhance oversight and accountability over the Commission and establish an African Court of Justice so that we are ready to engage with the rest of the world. Faced with the relentless challenge of climate change and escalating instability, our unity is our strength. Despite the myriad forces that threaten to divide us, we must remain focused on the ultimate goal, safeguarding the future of our civilization, the human race, and the diverse life forms that share our planet. Africa is eager to contribute to the solution. Our continent offers a viable and promising pathway to a future of prosperity for all humanity, harnessing our rich resources and innovative spirit. IDA's efficiency and effectiveness make it a unique force for good. Africa recognizes this, and we don't take it for granted. We are setting an example with our ambitious plan for structural and systemic reforms underpinned by steadfast commitment to tangible results, transparency, and a robust partnership. Given the enormity of the challenge faced by African countries and its global implications as collective emergency, we call on our partners to meet us at this historic moment of solidarity and respond effectively by increasing their IDA contribution from the $93 billion raised in 2021 to at least $120 billion in 2024. As we make this call, we as African heads of state and government commit to play our part by taking deliberate and robust actions to improve fiscal discipline, increase domestic revenue mobilization, develop investor-friendly policies, and enhance anti-corruption measures. IDA exemplifies the best of global cooperation, characterized by compassion, lasting dedication, and a fruitful collaboration. By fortifying IDA, we do more than just honor these values. We significantly enhance our joint ability to tackle global challenges. Let us value and expand the reach and influence of this vital resource. Together, let us be bold, let us be ambitious, and let us act with conviction. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the President of Kenya, for that important keynote address. Thank you very much, Mr. President. This IDA for Africa Heads of State Summit is a critical platform for all heads of state and other leaders from across the continent, together to highlight IDA's impact and to call for a robust 21st replenishment resources in support of transformational development. An ambitious IDA 21 will be a lifeline for a world in crisis, and in particular here in Africa. And to speak about it, I am now extremely honored to welcome the heads of states to deliver their statements. I would like to call upon His Excellency Mohamed Ghazouani, African Union Chair, President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. You're welcome, Mr. President.
Excellence, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, président de la République du Kenya, Excellences, Madame et Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Monsieur Adi Banga, président du groupe de la Banque mondiale, Mesdames et Messieurs les représentants des donateurs de l'IDA et des institutions financières, Mesdames et Messieurs, je voudrais tout d'abord signifier à mon frère et ami, son Excellence Dr. William Ruto, président de la République du Kenya, qu'autant je le remercie, et à travers lui le gouvernement et le peuple kenyan frère, pour l'accueil chaleureux et l'hospitalité généreuse, autant je le félicite vivement pour la parfaite organisation de ce sommet IDA-Afrique qui constitue une étape cruciale dans le processus de la 21e reconstitution des ressources de l'IDA. Je tiens également à exprimer mes sincères remerciements au président de la Banque mondiale, M. Adi Banga, pour son leadership et son engagement en faveur de l'Afrique. Tout comme je remercie vivement, à mon nom propre et au nom de l'Union africaine, l'ensemble des donateurs et parties prenantes de l'Association internationale de développement pour la générosité et la constance de leur appui. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, cette 21e reconstruction des ressources de l'IDA se tient dans un contexte continental et international particulièrement difficile et fortement marqué par des crises multiformes. Pandémie de la Covid, exacerbation continue des chocs climatiques, crise sécuritaire et politique, terrorisme et conflits armés en Afrique, en Ukraine, au Moyen-Orient et un peu partout ailleurs. Ces crises et conflits, au-delà des tragédies humaines qu'ils drainent dans leur sillage, impactent négativement et profondément l'économie dans le monde et particulièrement en Afrique, par leurs effets induits en termes de perturbation des chaînes d'approvisionnement, d'exacerbation de l'insécurité énergétique et alimentaire. Elles ont ainsi des conséquences massives sur les conditions de vie de centaines de millions de foyers dans les pays à faible revenu, en Afrique et dans le monde, et qui sont les principaux clients de l'IDA. Aussi, l'éradication de la pauvreté et de la faim à l'horizon 2030, qui semblait possible au moment du lancement de l'agenda du développement durable, sont désormais hors de portée pour la plupart des pays africains. De même, l'accès universel à l'eau potable, à l'assainissement et à l'électricité sont également un challenge difficile à relever. Les besoins de financement additionnel pour les infrastructures de développement ont ainsi été estimés par la Banque africaine de développement entre 68 et 100 milliards de dollars par an, tandis que les besoins de financement additionnel nécessaires pour que l'Afrique atteigne des objectifs de développement durable ont été estimés à 190 milliards de dollars par an. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, ce bref tableau de besoins de financement montre, si besoin est, l'impérieuse nécessité d'une 21e reconstitution ambitieuse et solide des ressources de l'IDA, au moment où plusieurs de nos États font face à des obligations et des contraintes multiples, service de la dette, choc climatique, conflits et afflux de réfugiés. Cependant, à elles seules, les ressources de l'IDA ne suffisent point. Pour financer notre développement, nous aurons besoin de ressources massives et de ressources massives de financement privé et de financement direct étranger. Nous aurons besoin de réduire les coûts de financement du capital à travers un mix approprié de ressources concessionnelles et de financement au coût du marché. C'est pourquoi je voudrais ici exprimer mon très fort soutien à la réforme engagée par le président Ajay Banga en vue de bâtir une banque mondiale plus grande, plus forte et plus efficace. Une banque mondiale dans laquelle les différentes branches publiques et privées opèrent en synergie. Je tiens également à saluer ces efforts visant à réduire les délais de préparation des projets et à simplifier les procédures d'approbation et de mise en œuvre. Je me félicite enfin de sa collaboration renforcée avec le président de la Banque africaine de développement, mon frère le président Adesina, notamment dans le domaine crucial de l'accès à l'énergie. Et je formule le vœu que cette opération s'étende à d'autres secteurs et inclue d'autres banques multilatérales de développement. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, l'IDA joue un rôle unique dans le financement du développement en Afrique où elle intervient au niveau de 39 pays. 1,5 milliard de pauvres, dont un nombre important de nos citoyens, de nos concitoyens africains ont bénéficié des financements de l'État. Ce rôle doit se renforcer alors que nous faisons face aux défis majeurs
even as we face the major crises brought about by climate change. That is why I reiterate that on behalf of the African Union,
mes remerciements aux pays donateurs de l'IDA pour leur générosité et appelle à une
IDA for its generosities to be able to reform its ambitious
à la hauteur des challenges de notre époque. Le coût de l'inaction serait exorbitant en
terms of fragility, and also the loss of human lives, and also loss of opportunities for development, and also there is wastage of resources, of our main resources, that is our youth. So environmental deterioration. We could avoid such a scenario by making sure that Africa is still on the path of inclusive and sustainable growth. For this, we have a need of human resources and also resources in natural capital, and it is to help us to transform our enormous potential, the social, to be able to reach sustainable development with which is value reconstitution of the resources from AIDA. So convinced that our presence in this summit will help achieve our objectives. I would pray that this gets to a successful end.
Merci beaucoup, Votre Excellence. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I would now like to take this opportunity to invite to the stage the Prime Minister of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, Robert Mambe. Bienvenue.
Excellence Dr William Ruto, président de la République Kenya. Excellence Mesdames et Messieurs.
Ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and of government. Mr. Ajay Banga, President of the World Bank Group. Ladies and gentlemen, our funders, before I begin, I'd like to share with you the warm greetings of His Excellency Alassane Ouattara, the President of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, who, due to other reasons, asked me to represent him at this very important summit on the reconstitution of the IDA Resources 21. I also take this opportunity to address my sincere thanks to Excellency Dr. William, the President of the Republic, and also to the people of Kenya for the hospitality and the quality of the welcome. I would also like to reinforce the thanks to thank the President of the World Bank, Mr. Ajay Banga, for his determination to reform our common institution for better in efficiency in interventions and also accelerate sustainable development in our states. Like it is this important summit also strategizes to mobilize resources needed for the 3 coming years. So the governments of the low-income countries need today to also, they are faced by major obstacles that are becoming bigger and bigger in an environment where the resources are limited. When it comes to the Ivory Coast, modernization of agriculture and the production sectors, development of the private sector, and also employment for the youth are the main obstacles. With the security menace problems in the Sahel, the Ivory Coast has a high growing number of refugees and also who are more than in their millions today, who are also pressure on social services and also need a lot of government interventions. So we are calling upon the leader and to my country needs a lot of support from the World Bank to be able to be more resilient. That is why the Ivory Coast, which also came up to advocate for more resources from IDA, is also involved in following up on these efforts in reconstituting the IDA 21. So it is a great pleasure that my country, from the 9th to 10th October of this year, the African Economic Summit, it will seek to mobilize main finances and partnerships with Global Citizen and Bridgewater Associates to support the campaign to also reconstitute IDA 21. And I'd like to also send an appeal to our funders and also to the World Group and its partners that they mobilize resources, IDA resources, to help governments to face the problems that are becoming more and more bigger and more complex. Ivory Coast supports all the efforts of World Bank and its partners. I thank you all for your attention. Merci beaucoup, Votre Excellence. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for those words. I would now like to call on His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, to give some remarks. You're welcome, Your Excellency.
His Excellency William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, the Chairperson of the African Union, President of Mauritania, and their excellencies, the heads of state and government. This is a topic I can speak on for the whole day. I'm therefore glad we have had this meeting where the presidents of Africa meet with some of the Western leaders. The crisis which is in Africa today is because of philosophical, ideological, strategic, economic mistakes, which we have been talking about since the 1960s. This is not an accident. When you see the crisis in many of the African countries, the collapse of states, we predicted this in the 1960s. Philosophical, ideological, strategic mistakes. I don't have time to amplify each one. But I was very happy to hear the president of the World Bank talking about prosperity instead of profiteering. These were his own words. That's what I picked. This has been the problem. Aid has been for profiteering. This has been the problem. Now, the World Bank people and other groups have been talking of sustainable development. Even in your documents, I have seen those words there. Sustainable development. I am now going to be 80 years old. I have never seen sustainable pregnancy. That the woman is pregnant this year, the pregnancy continues next year, 3 years, 4 years, it never happens. In life, pregnancy develops sustainably within the womb of the woman. Quantitatively, the baby is growing bigger and bigger. But at some stage, quantitative growth must be transformed into qualitative change. The pregnancy must become a baby. If the pregnancy remains pregnancy, the fetus will die. So therefore, I would even ask you to change those words in your documents. Africa does not need sustainable what? You could call it sustainable underdevelopment. Africa needs socio-economic transformation. The pregnancy must become a baby. The baby must grow and become a teenager. The teenager must grow. That's what happens in life. You cannot have quantitative growth and you think you are doing anything. The main reason why there is no growth is because the growth factors are not funded. They are not even understood. What are the growth factors? We now talk of private sector and growth. Yes, but for the private sector to grow, what What does it need? It needs low cost of production. Ministers of Finance, low costs of production. And what are the low costs of production? Number one, transport. You must have low transport costs. Where do low transport costs come from? From the railway. If you don't fund the railway, how will you get low transport costs?
120.
Wonderful people. Banco Mundial. Where will low cost operation come from if you don't have the railway?
Ati?
I have been here for the last 64 years. I've been watching.
Ya 10 mbili utapata.
As a student leader, as a freedom fighter, now I'm
sina that.
125 railways have been constructed or funded in Africa.
So
The few that have been was by China, the Tanzania Railway in Zambia, and recently China another one here in Kenya, and then Tanzania on their own, they are building another line. So if you are talking of helping Africa, the railway, I don't want to be involved in any other. What is no is the railway. Because if you fund the railway, you will have low cost of transport, and you can produce products which are cheap, which can be bought in the world. So you audit how much funding, all these billions you are talking about, how much of it has gone to the railway. Audit it. The second cost pusher is electricity. If you don't find electricity and you talk about sustainable development, what are you talking about? Private sector-led growth. Maneno tu. Electricity, we must have low-cost electricity, not exceeding 5 cents per kilowatt hour. That's what I insist on in Uganda. I'm tired of all these stories. These neo-colonial civil servants who have been holding us back, I have put my foot down. Say, I don't want to hear those stories. And Uganda is developing, and it will develop, because I don't entertain that nonsense anymore. Borrowing for what? Capacity building. Imagine seminars. They put you in the hotel, you eat chapati, you eat mandazi. They say that is capacity building. Capacity building should be on the ground, not just seminars. So, the second point, Excellency, is electricity. The third one, those people who talk about private sector growth, I have been trying to borrow money for our UDB, Uganda Development Bank, a bank which funds manufacturers. No, I don't get support for that. Instead, they want me to go, my people to go to commercial banks. But commercial banks cannot give. No, those commercial banks are to encourage imports. Because the only person who can borrow money and pay it back from a commercial bank is a trader who goes to China, goes to where to buy, brings products, sell them quickly, and pays back. So, if you are serious, I need to hear about the low-cost funding for manufacturing. not for stories, not for what, no, manufacturing. How about funding for irrigation? Because if you want to stabilize agriculture, a country like Uganda is very rich, we've got everything. But still sometimes we get some erraticness in the rain. So in order to stabilize, I've been trying to look for a loan for irrigation. I can't easily get it. Very difficult to get. A loan for seminars, very quick. The civil servants, what? But a loan for irrigation, you don't see. Now, finally, the loan for, I don't know the situation in other African countries, and I don't have time to talk for a long, I don't have opportunity to talk for long. But Uganda is a very rich country. But one of the problems we were having was that our people were outside the money economy. They were in what they call subsistence sector. They just produce for eating, produce for eating, produce for eating. Wanashughulikia tumbo tu. So I was looking for money. Please give me money to give coffee seedlings to these fellows who are just producing for the stomach, so that they can produce for the stomach, but also produce for the pocket, so that they join the money economy. You cannot imagine that by 2013, a few years ago, 68% of the homesteads in Uganda were still in the subsistence sector, in the non-money economy. You audit your countries. What is the situation? What is the percentage of the? So I had now to use my own money because I couldn't borrow money from anybody. The loans are for capacity building for. I don't know. Sometimes they go for ICT, but ICT is a communication system mainly. What are you going to communicate on that communication? How are you? Good morning. And you think that is communication? Why don't you have ICT linked with agriculture, linked with industry? Oh, now the digital. Are you eating computers? Have I seen anybody eating computers? Just running up and down, maneno tu. So I was insisting that all these Ugandans must be in the money economy. 2013, not long ago, 68% of Ugandans were outside the money economy because Uganda is a very rich country. A fool can survive there. In other countries, fools die. But in Uganda, fools can thrive there. They just eat. He stays with his brothers. He eats. He goes from there to the sister. He eats. He's not earning anything, but he's eating. So we said no. Everybody must be involved in the money economy. We couldn't get any support for that, but we funded it ourselves. Each year, we spend about $300 million of our own to make these villagers join the money economy by producing for the stomach, but also for the pocket. And from 2013, I was now told that for the first time, 61% of the people are in the money economy of the homesteads. It is only 39% that are still out. You imagine those are still there, just eating, no money. So therefore, this meeting is, then you get your neo-colonial civil servants. They talk of import support. Imagine there is money for import support. Import support. The governor writes to me, reports, we have got import cover for so many months. But I don't want to import, I want to export. Why don't you tell me about import substitution and export promotion? Instead you are telling me of import support. So money is available for him to become more dependent. So I'm very glad to hear what now finally, the KICC, which we told our people about in the 1960s, we told them, part of the wars we fought in Uganda, we had to get rid of the neo-colonial groups who were there, which were stopping us from thinking. We had to get rid of them by force. But one of the problems was Africa producing raw materials. Matériel primaire.
Yes, yes.
They call it in Français. Matériel primaire. Raw materials. Imagine coffee. The global value of coffee is $460 billion. All the coffee producing countries of the world, Brazil, us, all these, we only get 25 billion of that. Out of the 460 billion, the coffee producing countries get 25 billion. And Africa gets only 2.5 billion. 900 million of that comes to Uganda, because Uganda produces a lot of coffee. A country like Germany, which has no coffee, earns $65 billion from coffee. So, this I sell a kilo of coffee, good grade coffee, $2.5. Somebody in London would get $241 from that 1 kilo. Okay, there are other costs on the way. I don't want to, because he's the owner of a restaurant and so on. But coffee roasting, coffee grinding, coffee packing must happen here in Africa. Must happen at source. The shirt I'm putting on is Ugandan cotton. I don't put on foreign clothes. It's only the trousers I'm putting on because I can't go naked. Because they have not solved that problem for me. So, if you look at cotton, how many job levels are there? Job levels. You grow the cotton. Okay, that one we do. Those jobs we do. We gene the cotton. Kutoa mbegu, remove the seeds. That one we do here. And we end there. When you hear all these countries which have got crisis, Burkina Faso, I don't know what, Mali, all of them are cotton growing countries. But how much textiles are they producing? They're importing textiles, I don't know from where. So now if you end at level 2, gening, removing the seeds, then you take the pamba, you take the cotton, to cleverer people who are clever. What were in your akili? wako huko, sisi hapa tutajiita vipi? Kama mtu anakuzidi akili, wewe unasema wewe. So they take the cotton, they spinning more money, more jobs for their children. They weave more money, more jobs for their children. They put the print, more money, more jobs for their children. I looked at the figures. Uganda consumes 276 million meters of textiles each year. And that wonderful country of yours spends $880 million on clothes. Some of them dead people's clothes from Europe. When people die, their clothes, they are sent to you people, to Africa. And we spend 800, all the money we earn from coffee goes back to bring dead people's clothes. But we have got one factory there called Nitil. It produces 25 million meters. So in order to clothe our people in Uganda without importing, we need about 11 factories like the one of Nitil. And they would employ about 20,000 people. So and we would save $880 million, which we are just giving to other people. So this Ida, what did you say about the modern slavery of the Africans, of producing raw materials? In one of our documents in Addis Ababa, we had talked of Africa producing what it does not consume and consuming what it does not produce. They had put that as a summary in one of the documents of the African Union. We must get rid of the production of raw. I banned the export of minerals from Uganda and I banned them. Piga marufuku. Then the agents were going in the corridors, what Mufaji, no mineral will come from Uganda if it's not processed. You wait until I go away, you can steal the minerals, but not now. I banned this export of unprocessed minerals in 2012. My young brother, His Excellency Ruto, I forgave him and gave him some little iron ore for, I think, 2 or 3 years. Because I've got a lot of iron ore, one of the best in the world. I told him, His Excellency Ruto's man, Muindi wa hapa Kenya, you come and build the steel factory in Uganda at the iron ore. Oh, I've already built in Mombasa. So I said, okay, because of my young friend, I give you some iron ore for 2 or 3 years. But come and put the factory here. Now you can imagine akili yao ya watu wenu, my civil servants. An Indian wanted to take that iron ore to India. Imagine, iron ore in our language is called obtare, but it is soil, black soil. If you see it, it is soil. To take that to India and do what? Pay your wonderful people $47 per ton. Our iron ore is the purest in the world. It is 70% pure. So you need like 1.5 tons to make a ton of steel. Now, a ton of steel costs $700. Somebody gives you $47 on your wealth, the wealth of your people, and he gets $700 from it. And all the jobs, your children have no jobs. Watoto wahini wanafanya wapata kazi. I can't be part of that treachery. So I banned, there will be no export of unprocessed minerals from Uganda. So there's no business. What do you mean there's no business? So when I banned them, they are flocking in now. They have opened 7 gold refineries. 7 gold refineries. They are there. Because I banned. The other day I was opening a tin refinery. You can imagine this tin, and the Samia may know where we were, the power station, both sides, the Uganda side and the Tanzanian side. That is all tin. But all this time, imagine since the British were here, they were taking, walikuwa wanachukua mawe tu, stones, because tin in nature is a stone, looks like a stone. So they take that, and they give my people $11 per kilo. And they take it to cleverer people. For the cleverer people, they get $32. My people got 11, those people get $32. And all the jobs. So when I was opening the factory, I was asking the refinery, I was asking them, this boy who opened the factory is a Canadian. I was asking them, huyu Mkanada ameleta umeme wake? Has this Canadian brought his own electricity? No. Anatumia umeme wa kwetu. Ameleta maji yake ya factory? No. Anatumia maji yetu. Internet anatumia ya nani? Ya kwetu. So, out of the $32, much of that money will remain in Uganda. Pay for the raw material, pay for the electricity, pay for the water, all that remains in Uganda. So, what does, first of all, my African brothers and sisters say about this hemorrhage of Africa? Hemorrhage. Echikurukuto, call it in Uganda. This hemorrhage must stop. The crisis you see in these countries is because of stagnation of the last 60 years since independence. The population is increasing, the economies are not increasing. What do you expect? So with these few words, Your Excellencies, what do I say? Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, President Yoweri Museveni. May I call upon His Excellency, Professor Faustin Archan Touadéra, President of the Central African Republic, to please come and give some remarks. Beyond the news.
Excellence, Dr. William Samuel